Welcome to the second edition of the Scotsman Rugby Show. We're here at Scotstoun as Glasgow Warriors prepare for the start of the new Rabo Direct Pro 12 season. Later in the show we'll be hearing from Matt Taylor, the new defence coach from Australia who's come to work with Glasgow and Scotland. But first we'll kick off with highlights from Gala against Heriots at Netherdale at the weekend in the first round of the RBS Premiership. Stuart Cameron reports.
Heriots, led by Graham Wilson, fielded key players of the calibre of Mark Teague and Colin Gowdy, while former Samoan international Lopita Palapoi was part of the same pack which won the Scottish Cup last season. Lee Miller and Graham Wilson exchanged early penalties before we saw the first try of the game. It went to Gala number 8, Ewan Dodds. But Heriots equalised when their big second row, CJ Ozawuma, caught the ball as a line-out and threw himself over the line. Miller and Wilson kicked a further penalty each before the Gala fly half put his team in front at the break with another well-taken penalty. Gala extended their lead 5 minutes into the second half. Russell Anderson threw a wild pass out to Ewan McQuillan. He gathered it well, put it out to Craig Robertson, and he went in to score, converted by Lee Miller. And on the hour, Ewan Dodds collected his second try, powering over to extend the Gala lead to 28 points to 11, with Miller goaling the extras. Heriots thought they'd scored a try themselves when Graham Wilson took a quick penalty and grounded the ball, and the referee also signalled a try. But unusually, the referee's attention was drawn to an infringement. He disallowed the try and told Heriots to take the penalty again, this time Gala defending it successfully. With 12 minutes to go, Gala got the bonus point thanks to this well-worked try involving Ewan Dodds and scrum half George Graham. That wrapped the game up at 35-11 with another successful conversion from Lee Miller. But the final word went to Heriots, who moved the ball across the field, where it eventually got into the hands of Andy Scott, who came off the bench to touch down in the corner. Wilson's conversion was good, and it ended Gala 35, Heriots 18.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy. I think we got everything out of it what we expected. We got the bonus point, which, you can't ask for anything more. But in terms of the performance, the first half, 40 minutes, very disappointed. Thought the tackling was a bit poor. We were very one-dimensional, I think. We weren't dominant. We were very passive in the tackling. We were hitting them and then falling back rather than knocking them back. But, we worked hard. You're always going to be rusty in the first game. We need to just continually keep building, and I think if we look back at what happened this time last season, we weren't as good as what we are starting now.
My feeling is that maybe they thought they would come out second half with the elements and pat themselves at the back at half time and maybe just get on with it, and they absolutely did not, because the whole breakdown, set piece, basic passing all fell apart. So it was a horrific second half.
At the start of the game we would have taken any sort of win, and I suppose getting the 4 tries is just icing on the cake, so we'll take that into next week. We've got 2 massive training sessions, and then we have to go up to Inbrackers, which is never an easy task, so there's not going to be any easy games this season, so we'll have to go into it with the same mindset and hopefully the same result will follow.
So after the first week, 6 teams remain unbeaten with wins for Gala, Ayr, Melrose and Dundee, with Currie and Edinburgh Accies drawing 10 each. This Saturday, those 6 sides face each other, so unless we get another draw, that number will go down to 3, with the most interesting of the games probably at Millbrae between Ayr and Dundee High School. The Rabo Direct Pro 12 kicks off this weekend, with Glasgow travelling to Ulster and Munster coming to Murrayfield to face Edinburgh. We catch up with the 2 Scottish camps and also hear from Paul O'Connell of Munster on what he thinks of Edinburgh.
Yeah, it'll be very tough. I think Edinburgh will be very confident. They've obviously recruited well and they had a big season last year, maybe not in the Rabo Direct Pro 12, but certainly in the Heineken Cup, making the semi-final. They have an excellent back row. They always have a good set piece, good line-out and good scrum. And Greg Laidlaw had a great season for him last year. So it's going to be a very tough start for us. And Edinburgh's way has always been a tough fixture for us. But if we can get off to a good start, it'll be great.
We got a bad start last year and we never really got back in terms of the ground that the rest of the teams got ahead of us. We weren't able to get it back. so in the Rabo, and obviously the Heineken went fine. So we would look to get to the business end of both competitions, because we really enjoyed the quarter-final at home was a fantastic occasion in the Heineken. The semi-final was a great occasion. We could have won it. We didn't win it, so we'd like to get back there and maybe get to a final in either competition.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to improve, and it is an area we can improve in the Heineken Cup. We want to improve in the Rabo as well. We want to get into that final. We want to get our hands in the silverware. We've been in the semi-finals twice and competed well, but we want to win that semi-final and then push on from there.
Now, you've come here to take on a role with Glasgow and with Scotland as a defence coach. What kind of change in culture do you envisage ahead here with both these teams?
Well, in terms of the culture, certainly I think with both teams, they're renowned for being good defensively. So Glasgow, from a provincial point of view, was, I think maybe the best defensive or second best team in the comp. So certainly a lot of the things which was strong last year, I'm certainly going to progress and keep within the team. So that's really good. And then in terms of Scotland, certainly we're just going to work really hard on our work rate and that low tackle focus, and that will certainly help us in many other areas. So certainly, like I said, with our time with the Reds, we managed to kind of improve defensively, and certainly I'll be looking at hopefully do the same with both teams.
I said to you earlier, we did have a Matt from Australia once before, a coach who came in and criticised everything about Scottish defence and tackling. You've got a bit of a different attitude on the Scottish game, haven't you, having played here yourself?
No, definitely. I think, you just watch how Scotland beat Australia and they tackled like demons, and all the papers in Australia certainly comment on how well Scotland tackled. So, listen, Scottish players are inherently tough, and they get stuck in, and they don't complain about anything. And I think from a coach's point of view, you love coaching players like that, the players that get stuck in and know their roles and jobs. And I'll be certainly trying to instill that in the players. So it's exciting for me in terms of the coaching. It's really exciting to be part of both the Glasgow and the Scottish group, and for me to kind of work on all the Glasgow guys, and then certainly those guys who are good enough from Glasgow to go into Scotland, to work with them every day is just such a bonus for me, being the defensive coach of Scotland, because I'm getting to work with them day in and day out, not just within the test match time, which sometimes you don't often have a lot of time to be able to change people's habits. So,
what do you hope to achieve with Glasgow and Scotland?
I think certainly with starting with Glasgow, I'd love to think that we can win the Rabo in the next couple of years, and also we certainly want to progress into the next stage of the Heineken Cup, similar to what Edinburgh did, and they did a great job last year, so that's certainly for Glasgow. In terms of Scotland, I think over the next couple of years, aiming to kind of win the Six Nations would be something that we want to aim for, and certainly World Cup time, progress to the semi-finals or that type of level would be something which we'd be striving to do, and certainly I think aiming to do.
Now let's take a look at the National League results from Week 1. There were wins for Glasgow Hawks, Hillhead Jordan Hill and Selkirk, and draws for Hamilton and Biggar and Stewart's Melville and Hawick. This weekend we see another Borders derby, with Hawick hosting Selkirk at Mansfield Park, both teams still unbeaten after Week 1. And a tasty looking tie at Hartree Mill involving Biggar and Glasgow Hawks. This week we caught up with two of the weekend winners, Fraser Harkness of Selkirk, and first Glasgow Hawks' Mike Adamson.
I think it's really good that it's kind of gone down to the 10 team leagues. It's a massive challenge for everyone in the Premiership. If you just look at the Premiership teams, you could pick 7 or 8 teams that would win that. I think it's the same in the National League. So it really invigorates the Scottish club game again. It's going to be a real challenge for any team looking to. I don't think there's going to be one team that's going to break away. So I think it will come down to the last 2-3 league games of the season.
National one right now, I think every game's going to be a big one for everybody. I think all the teams are capable of beating everybody on their day. There was 2 draws at the weekend, and there were some close results elsewhere. So it's going to be a tough league, and it's going to be hard to beat every team that's in it. But Hawick, obviously, it's a border game. We've had 2 in 2 weeks. It's not been a long time since we've had that.
Of course, both players are Scotland Sevens caps, and they still very much want to be involved under the new coach, Phil Greening.
I think Comedy Games is a massive goal for me. I've been down in London the last year, and that goal's one of the main reasons I think I've come back up, is to to achieve the Comedy Games squad and push on from there and hopefully medal there as well.
You know, it means the world to be playing for Scotland, and you know it's exciting when you go out there and you play in front of those people with the thistle on your jersey, like every Scots player will tell you. And you know, you just want to be kind of involved. And you know, I feel for Graham Shield. You know, he in the last 2 years has really reinvented me as a sort of fitness wise, and really pushed me to the limits. And you know, he'll still be there, and I'll still be working with him. So I'm looking forward to taking that back. But you know, he's got a lot to do with what's happened to me in the last 2 years, my fitness and my weight loss and my rugby skills, and everything's kind of down to him pushing me.
That's it for this week. Next week we'll take a look at some of the new laws being trialled in Scottish Rugby, and we'll have a full roundup of the club matches and the first weekend in the Rabo Direct Pro 12.